Hello friends, just taking a quick moment on Facebook Live here to chat with all you guys out there in the kite world. Wanted to talk a little bit about dog steak, as I put 3 videos up today. One of some quad line, one of some dual line, and then another of Team Kite Life going through as a team. Just kind of want to touch on it and say, first of all, I always like to give a nod to, the originators of ideas. And dog steak, for those that don't know, dog steak, of course, is where you've got the lines cycling through something and then coming back to you downwind so that you can actually interact with the kite, which is really kind of unique and special. Gives you a very different perspective on the kite itself while it's working. So particularly if you're a technician, you really get off on seeing how the kite is working and what it does. Being directly underneath it, being right downwind with it, being able to change your angle on it. Very, very interesting, particularly with slackline tricks and seeing the way that a quad line cups and holds and moves. And it's really, really deeply stimulating. But historically, the dog steak format was invented, of course, by Lee Sedgwick, who I still consider to be one of the wizards of kiting through our roughly 35 to 38 year organized sport kite history. Lee and Lady Sue, they just did amazing things. And one of the things that set it apart immediately was the soulfulness that you could have in interacting with this thing. I've kind of playfully referred to it as like flying dog steak is like owning your own hawk. That is also you, right? Because the kite is directly under your control and you're down there and interacting with it, able to, in theory, right, as you learn, able to touch it and land near it and feel its passage by you. All of that is really deeply incredible. So with that, I've dog staked almost since the very beginning. A funny story is that I saw a picture of Lee Sedgwick, and this is also a cautionary tale. I saw a picture of Lee Sedgwick in Stun Kite Quarterly in late 1990, where he was dog staking a stack of dual line kites that were quad lined. And he had one wingtip of the 5-stack balanced in his palm, right? So I'm 15 years old. I've just started flying sport kites. I'm absolutely gaga. And I see this picture of Lee doing this amazing thing. So I promptly went out and bought an original dog stake or dog screw. And so it's got that triangular metal head. It's just a singular ring. And you start by flying, and then you hook your lines through that thing, and then you walk down to the kite end. So in doing that, of course, your controls are reversed, and I didn't know very much about it. I was on a $50 dual line cheetah kite, Marina Green, probably 15 to 18 miles an hour. I mean, the thing was spanking. And I within probably 5 minutes, I crashed so hard and really close to me that I actually ripped the entire tail off the kite. So it didn't deter me, but it did definitely leave a mark in terms of not only how cool it was, but also how potentially dangerous it is, which is something I'm going to talk about here in a second. But, so the dog steak, I just want to talk about the kind of the development process a little bit in that, it went from originally just a ring. Over the years, I've seen all kinds of things. I've seen David Britton with 4 individual rings, 1 for each line. And one of the dynamics when you do dog steak simply is that, if you have a single ring, you have 4 lines running through this ring. So their 4 lines are together and they're going around a bend, and the twists in that line are transferring back and forth over that bend. It ends up being really, really hard on the lines and creates a lot of binding, which really, really affects control. So, I've been using various kinds over the years. What I ended up using for many, many years in competition, doing innovative competition, was it was 2 ceramic ring or ceramic lined fishing rod tips. So there are 2 rings, and then I would run all 4 lines through that. And I used that for years and years and years. And then most definitely need to do the shout out to Mr. Mikey Devereaux. He's currently of No Knots team out in, I believe it's Illinois is where he's based. And I worked with Mikey for, God, must have been 4 years or something on developing a new dog steak concept. And so what we came up with was, what you've undoubtedly seen pictures of, and I'll show you in a minute, but it's essentially, we took 4 pulleys, ball bearing pulleys, and placed them in an X pattern so that each line is individually free flow through the system. Again, ball bearing, completely smooth. It was really, really excellent. But the nature of what Mikey was able to make, and it's a testament to his skill and his specialities. It was all CNC parts. So when you break the unit down, I'm just kind of spitballing here, but I mean it's not unfair to estimate that there must be 25, 35 parts in that thing, individual components that were all CNC'd with care, by hand, by Mikey himself, and put together. Undoubtedly, it was the best dog steak system up till that time. But it was unbelievably expensive and very, very labor intensive. I want to say that by the time you had a nice dog steak kit, using that, I think you were in probably $600. And to my best of my knowledge, there have only been 15 or 17 of them made, and they've been really coveted over the years. So knowing that, and I had a couple still in my possession, but dog steak is insanely cool. And anybody that spent enough time with me knows that a lot of what I'm driven by is not only what I really, really love doing, but how enjoyable it can be when somebody understands how simple something is, right? And I mean, it's freedom. I had a discussion with somebody the other day, and it just goes back into it. So basically the idea is, well, why do you instruct? Well, and again, this is a two-way discussion with this individual. I said, basically the concepts came up and said, well, we instruct because we like to further the sport, and we like to do these, like to contribute and basically do something. But one of the predominant things that really rose to the top of my heart was that the reason that I instruct is because, God, doing this makes me feel so good. It's really, really fun. There's a kind of levity and brightness and just this amazing sense of satisfaction and accomplishment when we learn anything, whether we learn a trick or we, as I like to call it, we find our wings, we find control. The kite is now responding to our thought, our will, rather than our attempts and our efforts. So anyway, the dog steak, I wanted to make that more accessible to people. So went on to work with another fellow who's not in kiting, but related to Kite Flyer, Alex Doman, and started to work on the very beginning concepts of 3D design. So instead of all that laborious CNC work, the idea of creating something that just be printed. Now, it still has some cost involved in making it, but the simplicity of it and the ability to just simply have it produced really ups the accessibility and the availability of people. So that's when we basically came up with the KÖBE. So that's what we're looking at here. And I realize the video may be reversed and the text is backwards. That's why my name is Naj. But that's kind of what we're looking at. We just had a wonderful test here at Whiskiff. It's been fantastic. Once we get it into full release, I'll talk about a lot of the details that make it work. Understandably, there's a lot of proprietary effort that's got into this, so I'm going to withhold until then, but give you those beautiful sneak peeks. And of course, 3 amazing videos gone up today, and then the promo video showing folks that have tried it for the very, very first time. So about dog steak, I just want to touch on that, is that there is a very, very common misunderstanding about dog steak, even with the very oldest flyers. Flyers have been around for a long time, but have never actually dog steaked themselves. And that misunderstanding is that your controls are reversed. And that simply is not true. The way that we've designed our system here, let me just go ahead and kind of get us a little perspective here. So we're looking at it front facing. So as a pilot, you're looking at it the way you see it in this video camera right now. So this is your right hand, okay? And so your right hand, those lines are actually going into the center of the right side of the steak. They cycle around the pulleys, and then they come around the outside right side of the steak as well to the right side of your kite, okay? So if our right handle went into the right side, came out the right side, and goes to the right side of the kite as you perceive it, as you're looking at it, it is the right wing. That means when you pull right, it goes right, and when you pull left, it goes left. Now, granted, when you actually try dog steak and you're looking up at that kite, now normally as a pilot, I'm looking at you. Normally as a pilot, if this is the kite, it tends to do this. So you're going to be looking at it in that scape, right? And so when you dog steak, instead what ends up happening is it's going this way. It's going away from you. And when you're looking at the back, of course, instead of the sail being like this, the sail is like that. But the controls are the same. So if you kind of wipe those values from your mind in terms of, the kite's supposed to be flexed this way or flexed that way, and you simply look at the kite in the sky and you go, hey, I want to go right, and you make it go right, it goes right. It's pretty amazing. So anyway, the point is that dog stake is super fun, way easier, and not at all mysterious like most people think. Again and again, I put beginners on it, I put masters on it. There's no real particular marker as to who takes to it better than another. I've seen novices suddenly find this awakening. I mean, as a matter of fact, there's something about flying through the stake that sometimes, periodically, you find a pilot who, there's something about that, going through the stake, that all of a sudden they're flying more intricately and thoughtfully, and I don't know what that is, but it's just a neat medium. So that kind of overview of dog stake takes me to the other one, which is a cautionary tale. And so dog stake, again, you're down there with your kite. It's traveling at high speed. So when we release the KØBE, the dog stake, I'm going to be really, really thorough about putting out videos that establish some of the ways to use it safely and smartly. Because again, that kite is traveling at pretty high speeds. If you go out there and you're flying underneath it and you're not using your wits and don't have a basic game plan, you can really clobber somebody, clobber yourself, but much like you would clobber somebody if they were at the other end of your line. So the caution is not drastically different from other kites, except that now it's your butt on the line. So I just want to point that out. Again, you're under the kite. You want to be careful, be thoughtful about the way you use it. Anybody that signs up and grabs one of those and pre-order as we release that, I really, really encourage you to take that information seriously. Not only because it will ensure your own safety and the safety of those people around you, but because it will give you more information, more understanding of how it's actually all working in front of you. It's not difficult, right? But just simple little things that you would not normally think of without that background experience will enable you and set you up to really enjoy it and be able to take that system even further. Then the other thing, of course, I want to do before it lapses my mind is I want to give a tremendous shout out to Jeff Hutton, my teammate on Kite Life. He is the individual really singularly responsible for carrying the KØBE through to completion of concept and production. I'm a kite flyer first. I love design. I'm a driver. I love how it works, and I can think about ways to make that work and designs that work. But actually creating and drawing design down to paper, so to speak, and taking it to fulfillment is not necessarily always my specialty. And Jeff, man, thank you very much. None of this could happen without you, and I hope that you take it to your heart how many people are actually going to really get off on a super cool experience that you've helped make available to everybody. So KØBE, Kite Forge, Team Kite Life, all my homies and all you guys out there that are having a great time. I also just wanted to close by saying that WSKIF, Washington State International Kite Festival this year, I was just absolutely blown away. I think that all of us are sitting here at a really kind of pivotal time based on what I've seen. I've been here for 33 years. Longer than most, less than a few, but what I saw this year was a very, very unusually balanced ratio of dual line and quad line interests, a lot of interactive and really thoughtful, esoteric, deep conversations about the hows, the whys, everything from technique to your psychology and the community, and just incredible. Nick O'Neill, sportkite.org, all the people that showed up to contribute their passion, their energy to that, Michelle Gagnon, Spence Watson, Carl Robertshaw. It was an incredibly rich event. Even going through the quad line side, I don't know that I've ever seen such a density of knowledge and skill and leadership. There were so many team leaders on that field, and the subtle details to how people were accenting their turns and getting through maneuvers, and just all across the board, from conversation to execution to leadership to stewardship, you know, those that have stepped forward to create environments where people can discuss and grow knowledge and spread knowledge and kinship, right? Just absolutely amazing. I was humbled to observe it and humbled to and thankful to participate or to observe and listen to a fair bit of it. So anyway, it's a great time to be alive. Keep sharing what you love, learn voraciously, be humble, be vulnerable, and dig in deep, because man, it's an amazing world, and I'm really glad to be here and be a part of it with all of you. So you guys have a great day, be safe, and fly hard.